Hey guys, and welcome to Pitch It Live here. We are going to have a great day, fun day. It's Adam here, Sierra Pacific Group founder and CEO, as well as serve as a ConnectWise Advisory Council member. At Sierra Pacific Group, we help thousands of MSPs like yourself to integrate systems, processes, and get the most out of their business through scaling their business in the proper way, right? So the biggest value you can add to your business is the ability to grow and scale faster than your competitors, right? So we are the Sherpa that gets you to the top of that mountain. We've done hundreds and thousands, not hundreds of thousands, hundreds and thousands of implementations. And so we've been there, we've done that. Let us set the ropes, guide you along this path to achieve your peak performance in your business. So with that, I'm gonna bring on me padre, Sean Lardo. Let's go. We're mixing it up today. What's up, Papa?
I love it when you call me Big Papa.
Big Papa.
Hey, how you doing, man? I'm doing great. How you doing? I'm glad to see you're home and not traveling the other countries and living a great life that I'm not living. I'm actually in the ConnectWise office in Cranberry, PA today. I'm in a cube for the first time, and my Lord, I don't even know how long it's been since I've been in a cube.
I mean, I like your background, like the backpack. Very, very, very nice.
I actually said it there, and I was like, look how good that looks. It's like great advertising.
It looks great. So what are we here for?
Oh, well, so we are here to, we're here because we have just a few days left for people to apply for the PitchIT competition that kicks off in just a couple weeks. So for all those startup vendors that are considering doing things, this is really the time to do it. And you're going to say, hey, what is PitchIT, Sean? And I'm going to say, well, Adam, what PitchIT really is, it is an incubator program, but it's really a competition for Shark Tank, right? It really embodies the three promises that Jason McGee put out a couple years ago, which was, the three promises consist of easier to do business with, invest in even more in partner growth, and then more innovations faster. So it really embodies all three, especially the innovation piece, because ConnectWise already has its own roadmap and trajectory, but these young startup companies that are coming out, they always are providing really good new solutions that really some people never even touched. And most of them, by the way, and we'll be talking to a couple today, but most of the key people that compete in PitchIT, over 60 to 70% of them were MSP or currently are MSP owners. So they literally built a solution to solve a problem in their own space for their own company.
Nice. That's boom, done.
Oh, did I mention that they also can win $70,000? That too. Sorry, kind of a big deal.
First place, yeah.
Second place, 30.
30. So and then third place, yeah.
They got a loser. They got the first place, first loser.
First loser. Let's bring on. So this one's a unique one. So we have some heavy hitters. We have coaches joining us today, and I'll go ahead and bring them.
Let's preface this with, not only were they head coaches last year, but they also are part of or were previous winners of PitchIT as well. So they do have, I mean, they're kind of like the OGs of PitchIT. I mean, hell, even one we're gonna have on was the sort of the creator of PitchIT. So like literally, we are in like star power. I got the goosebumps, and I want to light my lighter, but I don't have a lighter because you can't smoke indoors. But anyway, yes. So we have the OGs of PitchIT almost involved here today. So this should be exciting.
Oh, you said the hair standing up on your neck, but I was like, you don't really have hair. It's more like your beard standing up.
Well, I literally, it's a little pixie. It's like a little stabbing me right at this point.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing out.
Let's bring them in. Callen.
Hey, how's it going?
And Gene.
Man, follically challenged too, Sean.
Well, that's because we have to be more aerodynamic because we're so much ingrained in business. We can't be slowed down for anything. Like Michael, we're like the Michael Phelps of business.
Michael Phelps.
Just saying. Yeah. Hi, guys.
Yeah. So Sean, let's dig into this real quick before we jump into individual coach. So coaches, what do the coaches do in the program?
Sure. These were the head coaches. So we have cameo coaches and head coaches, right? Cameo coaches will provide one workshop during the course of the entire 16-week incubator program. So and it's usually based off of whatever their experience is in, whatever they're a practitioner of. The head coaches, though, they actually own the responsibility, almost like when you watch The Voice, where they had to bring their team up to win. And they have to actually help them on pitching and having that stage presence covering all the business needs, making sure they address the audience and knowing who the audience is so they can give them the value add to win the competition at IT Nation Connect. And not going to mention any names, but the coach team that won last year rhymes with a really good liquor that people may drink sometimes. Jamison. But that team won. And so, that's what their whole goal was, to get them set up and ready to go. See Gene's making a face because he was very angry. But I'm going to stop talking for a minute and put it on these guys because I've said enough.
Yeah, for sure. So Gene, tell us a little bit of background, your experience. And
so my name is Gene Rich, and I own an MSP and been doing that for many years, and started Traceless 4 years ago now. And because I was so close to the community of ConnectWise, being a ConnectWise partner, we decided to try PitchIT. I mean, why not, right? It was some prize money and some exposure. And that's kind of what got me involved with the PitchIT program. It's obviously changed and evolved a lot since Sean's taken over the program. And I think even the years between Jamison, who won it with TimeZest the year before Traceless, I mean, it evolved a lot from that. So I think it's pretty interesting to see the volume of people who are starting to pay attention and participate to the program, which is great. And so it's nice to be here to continue to support it.
Awesome. And Jamison, let's hear from you. Introduce yourself.
And Jamison West with TimeZest and ConnectStrat, and formerly Smileback, which is fun. So a few things. But it's been quite a journey. As a matter of fact, not only was it fun to be the judge on this last one, but after winning the one with TimeZest, I was actually a judge both on Callen and Gene's PitchIT contest. And I will say I voted for both of you to win. So that was, and here they are. So I think so. I mean, the record's
Man, Jamison is just the creator of champions. That's what this is.
The record's pretty good. The record's
I mean, he's like the creator of everybody that ever wins ever in the future of this is from Jamison somehow. He'll be like, I once talked to you and shared a drink with you in 1995, and I said you should do this, and look at you now. Like freaking Midas.
We'll see. We'll see if they keep going. Yeah,
All right, so Callen, let's talk about you, man.
Yeah, so I have a unique perspective. I was a long time ConnectWise. Arnie tapped us on the shoulder and wanted a pitch competition like Matt Nachtraub had at Explore. So I had to throw it together real quick. And Gene's, I was kind of the one that built that initial architecture and recommended that the original winner that Jamison voted for, Refactor, where I eventually ended up actually jumping to from ConnectWise, and signed up because I think the first year we had 8 applicants, 4 of which actually left the template that they had a business plan in place where we had to copy paste stuff in there. And I think it's really cool watching the way that this has evolved. We started PitchIT because we realized that ConnectWise wasn't moving fast enough to drive innovation, but there were companies like Smileback, companies like TimeZest, companies like Traceless, and now the newest tranche of Vanahai and Humanize It and Orthops and all that were solving needs. And there's so much innovation from MSPs that you all do to get your business done in a profitable way. And so PitchIT kind of culminated in that. So I love the program. I mean, obviously I jumped to the company that won. We sold that company to Sophos, where I still am. And we're seeing so many of the people that make it through the program being acquired. There was, obviously the one announced with Vanna this week. So Gene did a good job. At the end, it's one of those things. It's funny where it's like, hey, Jamison won, sold this company. Gene's company is the first one to be acquired out of the head coach one. So that's pretty big. But that structure, I think that y'all are setting up with PitchIT is helping companies prepare for what's next. And that's huge because it's hard, especially when you figure 60-70%, like you mentioned, Sean, started out as MSPs. Building a software or services practice is very different. And so getting that understanding of how to commercialize it is really what I love out of the situation.
I would agree. And you know, well, there's so much to unpack for what you just threw out there. So, but we'll start with the easiest part, which is you're absolutely right. One thing startup companies typically switching to a vendor, and you guys will all attest to this, you've been around it enough, is how to productize and automate and scale based off of an actual, if you're used to doing business locally as an MSP. You have a local business and you invest heavily on services, right? Whereas when you build a product, it's really about how do you productize it and how do you scale it? How do you make it repeatable and scalable the whole way? And that's a struggle point. Now, we won't go. I want to go into the acquisition conversation real quick. Since the beginning of PitchIT, we've had multiple companies that were acquired. It just happens to be Gene's on the top side of it right now. He's the champion right now. Most recent win.
Yeah, that's right.
Take that.
And I got to say, I know it's inflammatory, but I do want to point out that as a former ConnectWiser and an alum, it is frustrating to me that none of them have been acquired by ConnectWise. So you guys got to change that. You got to change that. So.
Well, PitchIT was designed to be an agnostic program, right?
That's true. True.
So ConnectWise is sticking to their guns. You know what I mean? It's not, as a matter of fact, and this, when I announced last year about looking for, applicants for last year's competition, it was brought up about the terms and conditions of being part of it. There was a stigma around it saying that ConnectWise would own all the participants basically, or have some sort of governance over them. And so we made sure it was outlined very specific in terms. It was announced to the world, and we've stuck by this now. Yeah, you're right, Callen. At some point, I'm sure we'll probably look to acquire somebody. God only knows who it'll be within 1 year. But again, just to maintain that agnostic approach.
I think that's a key point, though, too, to the program, which is, I gave CW a little crap there for it, but at the same time, it does show the commitment to an open ecosystem. Literally putting cash on the line. They're helping companies that help the entire ecosystem instead of looking at how is this just going to help ConnectWise? Because if it was, there would be terms like right of first refusal. It doesn't exist in there. When I created it, when you created it, and updated it, we made sure those types of things don't exist. It is an innovation competition, an investment in the community.
I would agree. I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly what you need to have, because the system's not going away. It's not owned by one company. Look at the years of experience on this call alone. How many different companies have you touched in all the years that you've worked with? How many times have you seen the landscape change? And it's not going to go. And how many are complementary to other ecosystems even too? How many of these companies, and Gene from Traceless, for example, his product actually is compatible with the Salesforce community, right? It's a whole new world. So it's not just one. So open ecosystem has to happen no matter what. And we kind of stress it. So I know, Adam, you probably have a question. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Not yet.
Not yet.
You've been going. You've been.
Okay.
I'm words from Jamison a little bit.
I'm actually about to go down to Jamison right now. So Jamison, you've probably been the most engaged in the ConnectWise ecosystem of anybody with different areas, right? So you're everywhere. Honestly, I think I saw a poster of you at an event one time, maybe twice. I think I took it home too.
We need a cardboard. And
I took it home and framed it. Looks really good. But so your experience just in ConnectWise and PitchIT, what are your thoughts about how it went last year and where it's going where you like to see it go in the future?
Well, it was a huge leap forward from what it was. In the past, it had really been not much happened before the selection of hey, show up on this day and pitch. That was kind of the whole program and the very, very first time around. So when TimeZest, which was the beginning of 2019, I think that happened. It was not, you submitted kind of like what you wanted to pitch and a little bit of a one page, just very quick, just an application, and the top 3 were selected off that application, and boom, go and show up this morning, maybe 30 minutes early if you need a little time to hop on stage and set up your deck and go, and that was it. I loved it because it forced me to kind of go, okay, I'm gonna have a couple conversations with some people. I'd done enough that I was moderately prepared with my prior software company because we'd pitched to some folks. So I think I had probably an advantage because I'd been through that pitching a prior software company that I co-founded, Team Addicts. But you kind of, with some moderate growth in the process since, it was just a giant leap into this last one. So Sean, what you did, just kind of all of the training, the weeks of people being able to hop on a webinar and just learn the next piece, and then really giving us and forcing us, which was great, holding us accountable to spending some time each week with our contestants. I just remember being able to sit down with them, look at the deck, have them send me a recording of the pitch, being able to, even offline, be able to say, hey, just a couple things. I'm not seeing the value here, or try this. And it was really cool. And I think for all of us, it was folks who hadn't really been through this process before. So it elevated the experience considerably.
Absolutely. I think, the benefit from you all being involved was, it was like the cherry on the top of the sundae, right? Because we give them all this education, we had them prepare for pitching, we had them, and then you guys come in and you kind of disrupt it a little bit, because now you're looking at what they consider their finished product, and you can poke holes in what they're saying. And I know Callen and I both talked about it with his company. We were talking about how do you establish value, and I think that's actually probably a good thing to talk about quickly. Callen, is you and I had a conversation about Humanize It, right? And we talked about, and we were like, well, what makes it really beneficial to work with a company like that? And it started turning into checks and balances on revenue, not just how much it's going to cost for a product, but what does it save? Yep. And I won't steal your thunder, but you gave really good pointed advice to them. And if you feel it, please, I'd like you to share it if you don't mind.
Yeah, I think one of the things that Adam, and it's an amazing product, and it was one, to be honest, I was a little nervous about working with, because it gives you business and service delivery and account management type function that's delivered from the MSP to the end customer. And MSPs in general don't spend enough time on that, right? I know, Adam, you deal with that all the time, the business side and the visibility into that. And when I got matched up with him, I was like, I don't know, like, is this gonna provide value? Because it's a need, but is it a need that MSPs are willing to pay for? And Adam was Walter, the founder there, was very adamant that it wasn't just about improving process by 5% to bring another 0.5 point to EBITDA, but it was about actually growing the business and making customers stickier and showing them the value visibly that they're getting from the MSP. And by the time I got through with his pitch the first time, there were some areas to work on, because it was verbose, but it sold me. And just being able to go through that process with him and help him hone that was huge. But at the end of the day, to stop pontificating and sum it up, the advice that you're talking about was we spent a lot of time on the value proposition. What pains are you solving? What pain relievers, if you're familiar with the business model canvas, the value proposition canvas, what pain relievers does this product offer that we can say it's a need that people are willing to, and what gain creators are they getting out of it? And how do we summarize that in, just a couple items so that it can actually be sold? And, he's seen a tremendous amount of success. And in fact, 2 of his core competitors were acquired in the last 2 months. It was Lifecycle Insights, them, and then Audit ID, was just acquired. And then I looked at ScopeStat, who's advisory council member, John. They just took on 1.5, 1.6 in funding. And part of it is that exposure. So there's this area of the market that PitchIT allows us to unlock when you wouldn't think that MSPs are going to do on it. And it doesn't. It accelerates it and adds legitimacy to those founders that think that may be struggling. Adam came from outside the industry, bought his way into and founded a company into the industry, and so it connected him with tons of people that he never would have been able to talk to. And we know how close knit this industry is. Like, Gene and Jamison and I are quite close. I still owe Gene a conversation that we haven't been able to have from last year, but it's just our busy.
It's okay. Moving is hard, man. Moving is hard.
Oh my gosh. And I moved
each other conversations too, right?
But yeah, I mean, that's what I saw. I saw maturation in the ability to deliver a value proposition, and one that, you know, is funny when life cycle. So their whole thing has been unicorns are real, right? Like you can
humanize
have
it,
this
yes.
ECIO,
He
and
stole
when
that
life
from me.
cycle
Hold
insights,
on, you know he stole that from me because I'm
yeah, but he did it better. But
he did.
So he made an augmented reality sticker and T-shirt. I mean,
I know.
I love your neck pillow, but you can't compete with AI.
No, I can't. You know what? Because Adam's a one-upper. Adam Walter is a one-upper, and we're no longer friends because of this, because I can't be with a one-upper.
But you know, when so he really figured out how to deliver that value prop through the PitchIT process, and then when Lifecycle got acquired, you know, they pointed out that we're going to create more unicorns in their press release. So it's like you see the impact that you have across the industry.
Yeah, you know what? I'm making one unicorn at a time. That's what I'm doing. You know, and coming back full circle, Gene, we brought this up earlier. Since you're the most recent, converting from a MSP to a vendor and being part of the PitchIT program, how do you balance both companies and do PitchIT and win? I'm just curious.
Yeah, you know, I feel grateful that that's been my path. It's been really difficult in times and really great at other times. I think, you know, like on the MSP, I've got an incredible team who supports me in that endeavor. And on the Traceless side, we've got a great team also. But I think that you know, one of the things that's been great as the program has grown, and I think this is useful. I mean, we're talking about people who have won and who have coached people who are finalists. But I think that a value prop as we go to close the application process to anyone watching is, if you have an idea, you should apply. You have nothing to lose. And I think that one of the really valuable parts of programs that are like incubators or accelerators, or the PitchIT program, which is kind of like somewhere in between, is that you are going to learn whether you should do this business or not. And I think that there's been so many times in both my MSP and at Traceless where it's gotten so hard that I doubted continuing it. And I think anyone who's owned a business can speak to their own experiences of these walls that you face. And I think that there's an immense amount of value. It's like going through a sales cycle and getting a quick no, right? Sometimes a quick no is better than a flailing person who says no, right? It's better than a yes, because then at least you waste that time. The industry we're in is super exciting. I wouldn't say it's recession proof, but it's certainly recession resilient. And so a lot of MSPs are proving that this case, and it's exciting to be a vendor selling to MSPs. It's exciting to be an MSP right now. It's definitely a hot space, but the work is the work. And I think that the program will help people understand, hey, do I have what it takes? Or does my idea have what it takes? Because it's still really hard. I mean, even statistically, looking at the amount of businesses that surpass $1 million in annual revenue, percentage-wise, is so small, right? The amount of businesses that actually are able to stay in business, it's very small, right? So I think that has a lot of value in the program. So anyone listening, again, just sign up. You have nothing to lose. And if you get in, you'll learn a lot more about running a business on top of self-discovery of this is something you should spend your time on or not.
Gene, you know, you just touched on a topic, and I'll ask Callen and Jamison. So let's start off with Callen. Just what are the common, you know, struggles that you're seeing, you know, contestants come in with, and the ones that you've coached? You know, what are the common struggles you're seeing, and then kind of how do you get through that, right? Callen?
I think Gene nailed it. Like testing that business idea, being okay with people questioning it and telling you that there may not be value, and then understanding if they're right or you're right. Because as a founder, we're often looking for, and we have to believe 100% that our idea is infallible. Because you just run against brick walls, you trip, you stumble, you have funding issues, you lose leaders, you go through this process where if you didn't believe almost to an insane point that you're solving the right issue the right way, you would just give up, because it's really hard. But the earlier on in the process that you can get through that and test that metal is key. And I think that's one of the things that I do see founders struggle with a lot, is they end up insulated. There's almost a predatory when it comes to money, because people want to see you succeed, because they want to invest in the lottery ticket that actually makes it. So you do end up with a lot of people that your customers may be telling you that there isn't a value here, and other people are telling you, yeah, it sounds great, you could do this. And we see founders not attaching that value prop to the problems or the way that the end customer can consume those problems. And, being able to test that early on, listen to the market, learn the way to establish a value proposition, a true GTM, a commercialization. Those are the big pieces. I would say the other areas, team building, right? A lot of founders have that I can do it myself Superman syndrome. And the reality is that that'll scale up to 500 grand a year or $1 million a year. But beyond that, if you need that core team that can alleviate some of the pressure, and the work that's done in team building and executive advancement is huge through these type of competitions.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Jamison. Right, some of the struggles, and I know you Connect Strat, you run some executive coaching. So what are the common struggles you see with PitchIT, but also what can you do as far as an executive coach? Because that's a really good point, Callen.
Yeah, I think that the team piece is enormous. Being able to understand how to budget for growth and how to spend your money. What's your strategy? Is it you're trying to create cash? Are you trying to create value and equity for an event? Are you trying to raise funds? And so many folks that have this good idea and start a business, especially coming out of the MSP world, because it looks entirely different, really they probably wouldn't even know half the terms I just threw out. And so it gets really complicated. The other thing I think that, something I learned early on is like the idea of knowing the level of investment you should make to ensure you have, what's an MVP, minimum viable product, to ensure that you have product market fit before you start to double down and invest in a higher way. That's a complicated equation. I see mistakes being made in that regard consistently. But I think the thing from a PitchIT perspective that I've found to be really interesting in from a coaching perspective is some of these folks, they're great ideas, right on it, and they literally don't know how to talk about it. And that's part of how we, even at Connect Strat, we'll coach our clients on how to, market and sell. What's your client journey? What's your value proposition? Because they may have incredible value. They may have an MVP. They may have 100 customers and people begging for more. And then they record like a pitch for their product, and you're like, oh, you missed. You were talking about your features and completely missed the problem you were solving. I don't know, build a use case to talk about why you're doing what you're doing. And so that's where I think that's where the value, because most of these people I've been able to coach, have been part of, they're smarter than I am. So then it's just like, wow, how do I get them to just communicate what they've done? Right. And that's the bigger challenge oftentimes.
Agreed.
Yeah. One quick thing I wanted to add to people. Yeah. Cause like failure is real for all businesses, especially startups. And sometimes that failure breeds success. And I think the other thing that's really difficult in our existence as business people is that what we hear in the news is most commonly massive success stories or massive failures, right? We're not hearing, we hear, oh, this is what an MSP needs to look like. Well, maybe that's 20% of MSPs, right? Because it's hard. And we don't talk a lot about what other MSPs look like. And that's also great because you're in business, paying people, paying yourself. It's incredible, mm-hmm. Right? But so I preface that because this is a big failure to success story, which is Slack, right? So the history of Slack was that it was a video game company, and around it's called Glitch, and that had a chat tool in it. And Glitch was a total failure, and then they launched Slack, and sold it for like $29 billion. So those are people who had founded businesses that had successful exits, started another company that failed, right? But then from that failure led to a massive, disruptive, successful technology. So I think that there's also something about being relentless with wanting to do this, right?
That was the path that Refactor had, right? Infinite Ops, Mike Frazier founds this company 2012, 2013, 2014 on how to manage SaaS products, SaaS billing, spin things up a little bit early, right? In 2014, we were just getting the Office 365 stuff out there. And so ended up failing. It just it didn't work because it was too early. It's sometimes worse to be too early than it is to be late. But in that process, they figured out how to scale. They built automation and orchestration. They built a DevSecOps practice, and Refactor was born out of realizing that they had value in that DevSecOps automation process. They spun up, like just after the bankruptcy, spun up Refactor as this next effort and went through the PitchIT piece to get legitimacy, and were, forced with a date. And I think the success out of the failure, sometimes that problem, and it goes to Jamison's point too, of matching up product market fit with that. Sometimes, it's not the success that you're expecting that you get out of this process.
So you're essentially saying, for all of you, to run a business, to open a business, be successful with a business, you have to know that your first plan is probably going to fail to some degree, and it's about you tweaking and reinventing to a degree and actually solving the right problem that comes out of it. Is that fair?
Yeah, absolutely happens. Smileback had the same thing. It was the fourth product launch out of next two. Smileback was like that. TimesDesk kind of wasn't. TimesDesk was an idea that we stuck with from the core and solved the same business use case. But I love what Callen said was just spot on. Like, too often people get so wrapped up in forcing an outcome that they're not willing to pivot and recognize that they're fallible. And if you can do that, your likelihood of success is much higher.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah,
it's about the vision of what you're trying to solve in general. The way in which you solve it will change. I actually just Bob Coppage, he's an MSP. He does a lot of video content. He's up in Ohio, Akron, Ohio. I just actually saw he put a video out and he talked about the fact of, remember, when you built the technology at that time, when you built the solution, it was based off the technology at that time. So if your expectations are different now, it's because the technology is different too, and you can do different things now. So you're trying to solve a problem one way then, the improvements took place. Now you can solve it in a much more efficient, effective way in a different manner. You have to evolve with the time. You have to evolve with the technology upgrades. You have to evolve with the people skill set. So it is spot on. I like that. All right. So don't worry, Adam. I know you're going to get anxious. Adam gets anxious on timing. So we're all clear, guys.
I'm in my mind, I'm thinking about, you guys are talking about business failures and pivoting and all that stuff, but we just watched and witnessed the entire country a massive failure. A space shuttle blew up.
You're absolutely spot on. And
that was $3 billion. I don't know how I would recover if I lost $3 billion to a giant explosion.
Did you see Elon Musk post his tweet afterwards? Did you see what he tweeted when it happened? He literally said, "Oh, good job to the team. We figured out some things."
That's exactly right. And that cannot be understated here, right? Being able to accept failure and move on, change, draft, and then relaunch. It's something that we all do as entrepreneurs and launching these businesses. And I think that's part of it. That's a key factor and part of PitchIT, right? You're proving I think, Callen, you said it, you're proving it all out. Hey, let's test these things. And you get coaches in the industry. You get, Cameo coaches. It's 16 weeks. And I think probably the other side of this thing is, Callen, you briefly mentioned it, is you have a deadline, right? And I think commonly we as entrepreneurs don't really put that deadline out there, and they're just constantly, oh, I'm going to work on this. And this really, it's going to take years. Well, you can really accelerate and say 16 weeks, done. Right?
I think
Absolutely.
It's Gene's point. Just sign up. You get started. It's that first step. And to Jamison's point, like, it may not have had the infrastructure before, but it gave that deadline. You know, like you had to walk up on stage at some point, you know, and what Sean has added with the recent infrastructure is accountability. You know, you have to show up for 16 weeks and do all of these things and then show up and pitch multiple times. So yeah.
Well, just think about it. How much work did it take? I'll use you, Jamison, because you're a great, as I made the joke reference before about you being ConnectWise everywhere. How much work did it take for you to get engaged and to be entrenched into ConnectWise or in the space in general? How many years? How many steps? How many everything?
You know, it's a fair question. It all, you know, I remember when it started, and it kind of just happened quickly. It didn't take effort in terms of trying to make the connections for me, because I just found them automatically. What it did take was time and energy. I had to show up.
Yep, that's exactly. So it's not. So don't undersell yourself, right? Because showing up is hard when it's every day and it's everywhere.
And I think, you know, I talked about sport. I met, like, it was kind of a funny day. I met Arlen Sorensen, Arnie, Harry Brailsford. I met all these people on the same day. All of them on the same day. It was at SMB Nation Seattle in like
that's old school.
2006. Yeah. It was maybe 2006.
Bainbridge.
Arnie had 20 employees, I think. Anyway, Arlen had just thought about starting this peer group thing. It was, and I met them all, you know, on the same day, and it kind of everything I was like, wait a minute. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on that I wasn't aware of.
Right. And look at how much work it takes for you to get that exposure, to get that involved, entrenched into businesses, and to have trusted, what we'll call partnerships and advisor partnerships and strategic partnerships. That's like a lot of work. So, you know, again, this program last year was the start of it. It's already doubled and tripled almost in size right now. For this year, we wanted to focus on educational pieces, but also the awareness pieces, how to get more co-invested, because it is a co-investment, right? Like you guys, the reason why you guys have all had success is because you've co-invested in all your partnerships.
Yep.
You know, and I think that's something that never gets discussed. Yeah, you can have the greatest product in the world, but if you're not co-invested in the right areas, knowing where to go, when to do it, how to do it, it doesn't matter. It's over. You will get absolutely zero out of it, because it's not the field of dreams. It's not if you build it, they will come. Let's not do that. That was a movie, and they were dead baseball players. Just saying, it was the middle of a cornfield. Nobody would have found it. But you know, I think that's the piece. The goal for us was to start to get these guys to be exposed. And again, let's go back to Bonahai. It's not a secret. They got exposure. All of a sudden, they get approached by one of the biggest companies in our space to be acquired. Would they have known them? Maybe in time, right? Bonahai may have done all the right steps and been founded, but you know, this is an accelerator program too. Accelerate your success.
Yeah.
You know, but I like that you guys talked about the accountability piece, because I didn't even think about it that way, but it is an accountability piece. You just have to be ready. You have to be ready to perform at every given moment. So I'm getting off my soapbox, Adam. It's on you.
It's all good. So we talked a little bit about the biggest struggles. Like, you know, we've had quite a few successes, and I guess, you know, there's I'm trying to think of the vendors that come into this program. You know, do you find it's easier to coach maybe somebody who's new to the industry versus somebody who's been in the industry a while, right? Because I think Adam Walter, right? You mentioned he's kind of from the outside, right? And I'm curious of, you know, what are your thoughts around that? And I guess we'll start off with Gene. Have you coached anybody I don't know who you're coached in the past, so.
I coached Bonahai. That was the first. They had a really good footprint and understanding of the MSP space, and a great value proposition, even for the fact of offering free pen tests to all their MSPs. I mean, like, it was an incredible, and that was like one of the things where when they were like saying, hey, here's what we're doing with the PitchIT use, I was like, hold on, this is insane. So you're telling me that any MSP can pen test their own infrastructure for free, right? If they partner with you. Like, that's a huge contribution to the space, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so they were familiar with the space for the most part and had a good channel program. I think that they understood their business model was like classic in the way that the MSSP framework has evolved, right? A lot of people have become incident response firms. A lot of people have become, um, threat hunting. They have their own SOC and knock, and that's their deal, right? And then other MSPs have not, and that's okay too, right? And so I think that they came to the MSP community with a product where the MSPs could offer pen tests to their customers, retain that revenue, but also help their customers comply with insurance requirements that are changing and security standards. So yeah, their business value prop is right in the space.
Yeah. And so, do you, so pardon me if I, so Sean, do the coaches coach everybody in the program or only like the top three? Is there,
Top three. The head coaches were only assigned to the top three to give, and the goal, the whole point behind it was that we wanted to make sure that coming up to IT Nation Connect when they're on stage, performing live, that they were 100% ready. So once we announced the three finalists after the preliminaries, a week after that, they were all introduced. And my team, we did an automated selection process. So nobody was given to anybody and specifically. And it really turned into the ability to, again, for them to be able to spend time with them one-on-one and start to dig in based off of them having the ability that they've won. And it was just a bit, that was what it was about. It was really about them focusing on them to help them win, period.
So Callen, I know you have a hard stop, and so I just want to give you a moment just to kind of, any final thoughts, final words for potential people applying?
Jamison's experience and wow, meeting Arlen, Arnie, and Harry on the same day is that's overwhelming. But his experience of connections. Adam, Walter, and I are on a weekly call still. I missed it this week, but we've been talking for that. The Vanahai team reached out to me, at one point during the competition, and we started talking, and then they got automatically selected to Gene, and it's good, but we continued to talk, and you get that exposure and build the relationships. And same with the Alert Ops team. I've talked to them after for other stuff, and some of them I've known being in the industry for a while. But I think when we're MSPs, when we're founders, we end up in our own little bubble. And being able to break the walls of that and meet other founders, meet other connections in the industry, and get that exposure is huge. So again, I would say just sign up. I mean, the worst thing that happens is you spend the time justifying your business model, like just
whether it works or not in 16 weeks.
Yeah.
So it's completely free. So
it is free. Yeah, let's just, it's free, guys. You would invest, and you're getting marketing awareness, training, development, and everything in one package for free. You do the math on how much it would cost you to do otherwise.
Awesome. Callen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, and definitely we'll see you around PitchIT this year, I think, maybe.
Good.
I don't know.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks, Callen. All right, now we can talk about Callen now that he's gone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, about 45 minutes in. So, Gene, let's go with you. So, final thoughts. People applying.
Just show up. You don't understand your path until you've walked it, and showing up helps you move through your career as an entrepreneur. So just show up. Pretty low consequence.
Sweet. Jamison?
Hard to add on to those. It's,
right?
Yeah, I'm kind of a, I think the thing that stopped me the first time I tried to, I thought about doing something like this was wanting it to be well-defined, feel like I'm 100% confident I could win before I even bothered, right? And didn't want to waste my chance early. But in retrospect, I'm really glad, like Times Est, we weren't, it was an idea, but we were nowhere near ready. It was just an idea, and we won. So, honestly, it seeded our company. It made the whole difference, and we did. We spent a lot of that money, just going right back into most of that money going right back into the community, and validating that we even had the right idea. So to be able to do that and mitigate the risk that we had to take personally was huge. So same answer.
Yeah, I think probably the biggest thing, and I think a lot of people have heard this, is how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time, right? It doesn't have to be perfect, just have that idea, and just enough to be able to apply to PitchIT, right? And there's I don't know if there's brand new people applying this year, Sean, that we've never heard before, as far as like new startups, right?
Well, think about it. Last year we had 18 competitors. First time, most of them were, almost all, I think all of them were first time ever competitors on PitchIT. A lot of them were only a couple years into being in business, and many of them were never even known. So
yeah,
seriously, like if we looked at the total landscape and of the competitors last year, probably an average of 2 years in business for most of them, and about 4 of them came from outside the space, so not even known in our space.
Pretty awesome. So yeah, I mean, we're here. Apply. I think it's literally this weekend is your last chance.
Sunday.
So,
The first is on Monday. Sunday it's over.
Yeah. So apply this weekend. By this weekend, it's free. There's a nice application process. I think it's a two-step process. You initially submit something, and then you're gonna get another
Short
email.
and long form. Yep.
And there's a long form that you need to fill out and for your full application. It's a lot of competitors this year, I hear.
There is. Well, we'll find out. We have the selection process takes place Monday and Tuesday of next week. When we look at all the applicants, and we really do dig into your companies. We look at your website, we look at your social presence, we look at your messaging. We make sure that it's a value add for the space. If it's not, you're not making it.
Sweet. Awesome. Gene, Jamison, it's been a pleasure. Sean, till we see again, me Padre today, me Amor tomorrow. I don't know.
So Adam's been working on his bilingual skills, and each time we go on, he tries, depending on who I don't know what happens.
So
he
anyway,
hasn't perfected any language really at this point. So
peace out, guys. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your week, and definitely those watching, join PitchIT. It's pretty awesome.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Cool.